Okay, let's get started with SERPs. As I was developing this presentation for you guys, I took a big U-turn, and I'll explain what happened halfway through it. Let me open up with ways to increase organic traffic. So you increase your rank, you broaden, and you accentuate. Rank goes up. You rank for more stuff, and you optimize your CTR to get more clicks from the rankings that you have. That's pretty much the formula that you can follow. Now, as I was developing this talk, I started researching, and I thought I was going to bring a lot of new exciting search snippets to you guys, and I found a lot. I found 40, and then I stopped, because I kept going and discovering more and more and more. Some snippets would show up on mobile and not on desktop. Some show some of the time, and some do not. For example, courses schema will only show up on a mobile phone. And I thought, well, this is a book, and I would need like 5 hours to go through every single snippet type, and I really didn't want to waste your time, because I think you can read a lot of useful material on the types of snippets that there are already out on Google. And by the time I finished my talk, 2 snippets were gone. I couldn't actually recreate them. I think they're retired. So some really good articles that I was going to use in my talk explaining all the snippets. I just decided to skip past all that. So let's go over the very easy stuff that everyone can do. Really no excuses for not doing this. Schema, read snippets. I'm just going to go past that part, because there's been enough talk, there's a lot of documentation, no excuses for not doing this. It's not rocket science, it's really simple to implement. So, featured snippets, been talked around for a long time now, but essentially it's down to getting your content and formatting right. Again, we can talk about it, we can have a little Q&A session. Don't want to focus on that right now. Discover feed. What? That's not even search results, is it? Discover feed. How many Discover feed users in this room? 5? It is kind of a search result because it's implicit search. Google is trying to predict what you want, and it's giving you the results based on your interests and browsing behavior, all other user behavior signals. So you can see a screenshot from the actual Android app. This is the Chrome equivalent of the Discover feed. And there's also Google News, the For You section, which is showing you these implicit search results. It's like stuff that Google thinks you would search for to find out, but it's just kind of pushing it to you based on your interest. And if you see there, it says based on your interests. So they know what you like and what you don't like. But what people don't realize is that this is one of the most unexploited traffic sources at the moment. There's a huge amount of Android users who are looking at this stuff. And Airtasker, for example, this is just one guy on Airtasker putting his deal up there. And whoever's interested in web design as a topic, and this is knowledge graph, by the way, web design as a topic, will see this $500 website deal. Huge amount of traffic. How did that result get in there? That's something that everyone should be asking themselves. So I studied this for a little bit, how to make use of these implicit search results that Google Discover. They're very easy to manipulate, and that's the good news for now. But they're hard to track. It's very difficult to understand in analytics and Search Console that this is the type of traffic that's coming from Discover feed. What you need to know from this session is how you get into Discover feed and get a surge of traffic from there is you just send a lot of traffic to that URL and you trigger it. Any sudden and even slightly sustained level of traffic towards a URL will bring it into that towards people who are interested in that topic. You can advertise it. I tried on organically, on social media channels. It works by newsletters. If you send out a link in a newsletter, it'll pop up in the Discover feed. You can run ads and promotions on search or social, even blog referrals. So you can actually see how it looks like in your log files, in your server log files when it triggers it. So there is a way to detect it, but there are some rumors that it might even appear in Search Console, but I can't bet on that. So while we're talking about that, quick word about basic tuning. So most users can manipulate their interests and tell and train the Discover through these little devices. Is this useful, and more or less, and things like that. So you can follow a certain topic, and this part of the knowledge graph. You can say that you're not interested in a topic, or you're not interested in a publisher. So if I click, I'm not interested in news.com.au, I will never see a story from that again. So this is basic level, similar to I want to see less of that and I want to see more of that. But there's also advanced tuning which most people will not touch. So you go to Customize Discover, click on Follow Topics, search, enter your favorite topic, and you can tick the box and say, I'm interested in that. These are the presets. You want to scroll all the way down and have a look at all the other sections. So view all settings and have a look at my list is huge. I have hundreds of topics that I'm interested in because I've been like a fanatic training my Google Discover. So then you also have a very interesting section called Based on Activity, topics that may appear in your Discover feed based on your activity. So user behavior signals suddenly getting into the Google's implicit search. So Google thinks I'm interested in 3D graphics, in 3D printing, and Browns Plains, Queensland, which is near where I live. So I can say, nah, not interested in that, you got that wrong, or yes, I'm interested in that. So the implicit signal that Google thinks becomes explicit because you told Google, yes, this is what I want to see. And this is my not interested list, the exclusions. So a really well-tuned Discover feed is a super powerful research, discovery, and monitoring tool, in addition to helping you understand what pops up and how to get extra traffic from it. So Discover is just a part of Google trying to be helpful, featured snippets, quick answers, knowledge graph, calculators, weather, game results, voice search. What's common for all these things? Google is trying to be useful while Google is trying to make you stay in Google. Don't go anywhere. Here's the weather result in the search box. What's the point of clicking on the search result? So they're answering our questions, they're working with our tasks, helping us communicate, store our data, transact. They're becoming our assistants. They're helping us stay entertained, bringing us news. And this all is very interesting. But we as marketers have a mindset about all these things, and we get, featured snippets stealing all my clicks. I have terrible click-through rate because everyone's clicking on that featured snippet and I can't get in there. I thought, well, okay, it's nice what users think and all these studies that I've read so far, but let's ask actual people who use Google what they think about these things. So I showed them a screenshot of a featured snippet, and I said, I didn't even actually say what it is. I said, what's this thing on top of Google's results? And in a multiple choice answers, they said paid promotion. They think it's an ad. And that's a significant number of people. And some people think it's the best answer. So that's actually not a bad guess. And there's a significant amount of people who think that. Now, you have to remember, I've given people choices for the answers. When I don't give them choices and I leave an open-ended field and I make them type stuff in, it gives me a little bit of homework because I have to process the data and group things together. So people say, I don't know what that is. It's ads, again. So it's a visual result, which is true. Relevant information, top result, business, answer, news, summary, article. So another question, when a box like this pops up on top of Google results, how likely are you to click on it? That's incredible. This is people declaring, nah, I feel like I wouldn't want to click on that. Don't know what their reasons are. Maybe it's because they think it's an ad. I didn't go that deep. Should I be really worried about featured snippets that much? Accordions. When a feature like this comes up, are you likely to click on it? Unlikely. Somewhat likely. Neither. What about pogo sticking? It's a bit of a long one for the respondents, but I ask, you click on a result in Google, visit the site, and immediately go back to the results. Other than it's not what I was looking for, because that's a major factor, what reasons make you go back to the results? And people say, I just want to compare. I need more information. Or the query didn't satisfy my need. It's too many ads. I misclicked. I accidentally clicked on that. Page quality wasn't good. I was rephrasing my questions, so working on their queries. I didn't trust the site. That's interesting. And one is, I satisfied my query, and I've gone. That's fine. And another one is outdated, and there's some other answers in that. So these are some of the samples of the answers. One is interesting. Answer is not easy to find within the site. These are actual responses. So I asked users, what would make Google's SERPs better? They said nothing, which means that people are generally happy with Google's search results. And people are saying ads. Ads is a negative signal. Some are saying remove the bias. They think the results are rigged. Don't manipulate. Make them faster. So there's some sample responses. I will not go into details. What's bad about Google, according to users? What's the worst thing about Google search results? Nothing. Most people are happy with it. Ad heavy, irrelevant, biased, complex, slow, inappropriate, fake news, pay to rank. So I find this one very interesting. It assumes I'm always looking for the same thing, not enough variety. They're oddly always what I'm about to ask. And doesn't always lead you in the right direction. So some users in this survey were saying, Google's kind of like funneling me where it thinks I need to go instead of where I want to go. And I think that happened a little bit after RankBrain. Good Google. What do you like about Google? It's fast, it's relevant. Nothing. Okay. Answers, variety, everything. It's accurate, it's comprehensive. So it's fairly good feedback there. And my favorite is, it's free. When I think about it, Google's free, so it's pretty awesome. What makes you click? And this is a very significant one. So this is the sample of the type of data that I had to deal with, because I didn't ask simple multiple choice questions. I actually asked them to enter the text. So I had to process all that, which was a little bit more painful, but it gave me a lot more meaningful and accurate data. What makes you click on a result in Google? Well, most people, it's not a surprise, said it's the match. It was what I was looking for. The second one, I trusted it. That's interesting. I need you to think about that. Trust in SERPs. You thought I was going to talk about tweaking title tags and things, and there's an underlying element of trust in search result, and we'll go into that a little bit later. Ads. Negative signal. Interest. Content, rank. So rank is very, very biasing. We know that, but people think it's not. But we know it is. If something's number one, it's going to get a lot higher click-through rate. So if we look at content, description, and title, these elements, in my analysis, can be bundled up into a snippet text. All these can be called under one category. And if I look at keywords, can be bundled into that category as well. I end up with 3 significant categories. It's a match for my query, it's something I trust, and the snippet text was appealing. And then there's, it was interesting, those type of answers, and of course the rank, which people disregarded. That one's not interesting for us. So when I look at the match, snippet text, and interest, they fall under a single category, match. And then there's trust, and then there's rank. So we've got match, trust, and rank, major influences on what people use to decide what to click on. So what is trust? What makes people trust something in the SERPs? Brand. I kept doing these surveys again and again and again and again and again, and when people notice a brand that they recognize, they'll click on that result. And brands have huge CTRs in comparison to those who have failed to brand. And of course, there's these what they refer to as trust words. I didn't know about that concept. I just learned it while I was researching for the purpose of this presentation. So there's a page where I found an example of a lot of them. So this is like a 3-page list of the types of trust words that we have, including some of the symbols. If you want to, you can have a look at this spreadsheet. You can download it, and it contains all of them. So I researched into trust signals online as well. That's the article with full research. URL is what people look at when determining a trust, whether it's HTTPS, whether it has ads or is an ad. The design, brand, content. It's a really interesting list of the types of trust signals that people use to determine when something's trustworthy online. And we need to factor those in our search efforts. What about content? So when they read the content in the snippet, and also when they land on the page, so you don't lose them back to the SERPs, so pogo sticking prevention, I asked them as well, what do you consider to be trustworthy signals for the content itself? And this was the answers. The content properties themselves, like title, spelling, grammar, and that sort of stuff. Proof. What you're writing, is there proof for that? Publisher reputation, author reputation, social proof, cross-checking, advertising, etc. Isn't that interesting? Author reputation and publisher reputation. That's branding again. Brand recognition, connection, trust. So certain keywords that you can use in your snippets are persuasive. You, free, because, instantly, new. Some are community-driven. Join, become member, come along. Some encourage sharing. Secret. Isn't that funny? You put word secret and people share more. Exclusivity, members only, login required, class full. It's closed for me, so I want it now. So these are things that drive human attention on an emotional level. So it's not just the words you're putting in the snippets and title and description and schema. It's how you make people feel through the SERPs. And there was a session in the PPC track about the same thing. It was talking about how do you make people feel about the ad copy? Is it resonating within the audience? Influence keywords, scarcity, safety. And there are some general words that were just branded as power words. I don't even know what it means, but I guess they sort of like boost the click-through rate in some way. And this list was published on Buffer, so you can have a look at this. Everything all the slides that you've just seen and took photos of, they're all on that URL. And the slides will be made available to you. I'll just tweet it after this presentation. We also have another problem of micro-attention. When people land on search result page, they're just like scan, 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 done. They're like very, very time poor. And we're like evaluation machines. When we go to Google, we evaluate things very quickly. We glance at things and we choose what to click on like it's buying a car. It's a big decision. You're making these very big decisions about whether to click or not because it's wasting your time, and time is all you've got. So I did research about how people write and how people read on the web. It doesn't match. That's like a whole new presentation. So I can't go into it, but you can watch my Whiteboard Friday on Moz and read these two articles, which will just give you a little bit of a refresher about concepts like inverted pyramid, getting out with the answer in the beginning of the article, not dragging it on, writing concisely, and things like that. So how to write for the web is important, not just for the content that you publish itself, but it's also important for the purposes of your snippets. Look at me, Dejan SEO. Why did I put such a tiny little snippet in the search results? Because negative space draws attention. By putting less fluff in yourself, you're actually, interestingly, using that white space to make yourself stand out a little bit. Negative space, snippet geometry. Step, step, step. Answers draw attention to a search result. How crazy is this? Okay, so this is a little bit meta because I'm talking about this and that's the actual example. So trust signals on the web, URL, HTTPS, ads, design, brand, content. Thank you, you don't even have to click. Is that crazy to give the answer in the title? No, because I actually have abnormally high click-through rate on this. So how about this? Instead of hiding the answer behind the snippet, give the answer in the snippet and sell them the rest of the article. And do the same thing when they land on the article. They land on your article, and in the first paragraph, you give them all the answers they want. And you say, here's why, or read on to find out how I come to this conclusion, or whatever else you want them to do. And then they'll read the rest of the article. Some will not. Some people will just get the answer and get out, and that's fine. That's how people operate on the web. So this one, I applied brand familiarity, negative space, reliable, TM, HTTPS, using low-effort words like simple. And pop, the click-through rate goes up. So we've got schema, rich snippets, formatting, all this stuff that you can do to influence the click on the search results. And you've got 10,000 URLs on your website, and you've got 50,000 queries and 40-plus types of snippets. Where do you begin? You can't do these little tweaks on a URL per URL basis. Actually, this didn't exist when I started this presentation, and then I asked my developer to make something for me, and he made another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and now you guys can actually try it. It's not a commercial tool. I made it for myself so I can do my work a little bit easier. So I took AlgoRoo and I call it AlgoU because it takes your data from Search Console Analytics and does a little bit more. So I'll explain what it actually does. And I know you guys love tools. So you start here, go to the automatic collection method, Search Console. You connect with your Search Console, verify, pick the domain, and it gets your dashboard. And in the dashboard, you can see the flux from Google, your search traffic, links, Google Analytics traffic, Search Console traffic, and referrals. Originally, the tool was made so I can scan for new referrers. So every time a new referrer appears in Analytics, the tool says, "Hi, you have a new link." The first-time linker that's never linked to you before. So it's kind of like a link reporting tool. But then I started bolting on all these other features because I need them. So what I like about it is that it gives me the CTR distribution curve and shows me what my normal CTR is across all my queries. And what it also does, it tells me that on my very large data set, there are this many clicks. And if everything moved one up, that's what I would get, one up in Google rankings. And the full potential, if everything was ranking #1, that would be traffic that I'd be getting. And it tells you how it got to that conclusion, how many queries it factored in, and how many URLs. But what it also does, it shows you where you've been missing out on the CTR stuff. So it shows you the clicks that you're having, the clicks that you're missing because of an unusually poor CTR, and it tells you what you could get if you actually fix everything, and it shows you how. But before you do this, you have to filter out all the branded keywords, because branded keywords have abnormally high CTR in themselves, so you have to filter that out. As a starting step, I recommend clicking the automatic branded query lookup. Anything with a very high, like 95% click-through rate, will be automatically suggested as a branded term, and it'll pop up conveniently in that list, and you can say +++ and add it to it. Of course, you can add it manually as well. And you can also filter on any URLs that you don't want to fall within that calculation, like non-commercial URLs. So 2 years ago, I spoke to you guys, and I gave you all these ideas about CTR improvements, and we ended up with a spreadsheet. And that was a big mess. So I think this is a little bit more elegant. So now what we do is, and by the way, this is not rocket science. You can recreate this in the spreadsheet. So you just look for anomalies in the CTR data. But what I do is I sort by traffic loss, and I find the queries that are losing me money. So veterinary nurse is the query that's losing most traffic due to very poor CTR. CTR difference is minus 26%. This is what we expected to get on that position, and this is what we got. That's terrible. And this is my biggest offender. This is the query that's losing me most of the traffic, and that's the query I'm going to focus on today. So I can see all these metrics, and I can track the performance and rank of that particular query, but what interests me is that's where it should have been, but that's where it is. What's happening? So you can then manually inspect and try to understand what took place. Oh, okay, so we've got the accordion, we've got the side panel, we've got a competitor with some interesting pricing snippet elements in there. But is it maybe because people think it's an ad? Because the first result, is it treated like an ad almost, and people are skipping it? What I do as a bit of a shortcut is in Ahrefs, I actually worked with them during working on this presentation, and I said, can you help me out? Give me the special search snippets in the export in a CSV format. And they did, so kind of them. So you can actually go to SERP features and select all features, and you can see where the special search features are appearing. And you can actually view it for a particular query, or you can do a big export of the entire data set. That's how it looks like, and you can import it in your AlgoU setup, and you can then overlay it over your data sample. And you can see where those snippets are appearing with special search features to help you decide, well, it's not really what I put in the title and description. It's beyond my control. It's the knowledge panel that's appearing on the side. So your priorities, start with the top 10 of your queries, and then move to the rest of them, 10 by 10, and go through your top 100, and then the other 10,000. So it's about prioritizing what to work on with all these trust words and brands and all the other types of experiments. So we've been talking about queries, keywords. But queries belong to URLs. So what we did, we actually combined all the queries to their corresponding URLs, mapped them from the Search Console data. We can actually show cumulative traffic gains and scores for your URLs for the website. So you can sort this list and find the top traffic losing URL with all of its keywords that are losing traffic due to poor CTR. There's another feature I didn't have time to talk about today, and that's also the financial potential. You can put the average conversion rate and the conversion value into the tool, and it can give you the number figures. So you can see how much more money you'd be making if you improve your CTR, if you improve your rank. So this is the what to do list, and this is the what not to do list. So just like you go to the traffic gains to learn what you did that was awesome and you should do on more of your pages, you should also go to your traffic losses and learn from that and make rules, very broad rules across the brand, across 10,000 queries and 100,000 queries of the things not to do. And once you do this, you will find that you're starting to create rules by seeing patterns in your data. You're starting to see, okay, every time I put a $sign in the title, my CTR moves on average by 5%. So you can announce to all your people in charge of content loading and product management, start putting $signs or hard-code it or put it as part of your website template. So when you get to actual testing of experiments, it's a very, very tricky business because you can't really A/B test your snippets because you can't. You have it there for a period of time, and then you can change things, and you have it for another period of time. So in this example, we can see the CTR experiment segment of AlgoU that is using a sample, and this is the increase in the CTR that I had on position 7 and 8. Why am I splitting up positions? Because it doesn't make any sense to track your CTR across multiple positions. Because as soon as you move from position 8 to position 7, your CTR will increase. And if you move from position 6 to position 3, your CTR will double. So you have to track CTR improvements per position, and that's why we're using this instead of a line graph. So what did we do in this experiment? We took this and changed it to that by using the word amazing. I don't know. It's the type of audience that I thought might react to that. So I put word amazing, and that was the outcome. So the CTR after experiment is in red. So that worked pretty well. In another example, it was on our own website, Flang, for href Lang checking. We actually didn't have any sort of meaningful snippets in there, and we changed it to that. And this is what happened to the CTR. Similarly, on one of our commercial pages for PPC management, we didn't change much. We dropped the brand. Case A, case B. I just dropped the brand out of that. Didn't change much else. I don't know why, but it increased the CTR. So, case A, here's what happens when you mow overgrown Zosia matrella type of grass. No mow, which is the brand. And I put, stop, here's what you need to know about Zosia matrella. So this is after experiment. We don't have the data for before, so that's useless to me. This one, it dropped. This one, it increased. So now it's inconclusive. I think I might have gone a little bit overboard. I'm too aggressive. Stop, you know. That one is anomaly. Why? Because it's a single click and single click. It's one sample. One click, 100% click-through rate, or 50% click-through rate, so probably like 2 clicks. So if you have very low clicks, you cannot trust the data. So after I put these slides together, we realized that, and then we put a hover on the bar graph, and it can tell us when something is very low numbers of clicks. So, challenges in running CTR tests. Whether you use this tool or whether you use your own or Data Studio or Excel, it doesn't really matter. So the challenges that I went through while I was developing this tool was, first of all, I was unable to run A and B at the same time. And that is problematic, not just because the rank fluctuates, but because SERP results change. So a week from now, SERPs may have looked very differently. Knowledge panel may have gone out. So a solution is quite obvious, I think. You don't test just a single URL. You take a whole category on your website with 1,000 products, and you take 500, you change one thing, 500, you change the other thing. And you test large quantities of URLs to test your hypotheses. So accounting for rank movements is also easy. You just split your experiment per position. Don't blend them together because it doesn't make sense. Position is a very high amount of bias. Seasonality. So you're a florist and you're testing something just before Valentine's, and after Valentine's you're going to get very different click-through rates. So the answer for that is run longer tests and be mindful of seasonality while you're running it. And of course, SERP changes to other results, for example, not your own. So you can use tools like Ahrefs and others to see if there's something else that's influencing the click-through rates other than the quality of the snippets. Now, this last one is really, really interesting. Most people don't really consider it. When you tweak titles and descriptions for CTR experiments, you can actually impact your ranking. So you can increase and decrease the rank. And I think for that it's useful to look at Search Console's historical data to make sense of it. There's more. We've got CTR inconsistencies. So we are separating the branded terms, minimum viable clicks, roughly 10. If you have any less than 10, you cannot trust the data. Presence of special search features, and false expectations. And this is a little bit complicated, and I'm going to try to explain. When you're running CTR projections, you can run on the basis of improving the CTR alone. But you can also calculate the improvement of rank alone. And there's a third mode by improving both CTR and ranking position, which boosts your CTR and traffic expectations to a whole new level. So don't make a mistake projecting the rank increase but calculating the CTR that should be there for the rest of the site. If a query is underperforming on position 3 currently through CTR, has CTR of 5% on position 3, it cannot have position 2, 20% that you expect. You have to factor in and degrade that expectation. Unless you're confident that you can fix the CTR, in which case you can combine both metrics and you can have the true expectation of both combined increases, both CTR and rank. Factoring in deviations while creating projections has been life-saving with client work, because when I did this initially, I would make all these wonderful projections like, oh yeah, you can have 100,000 extra clicks. It's true. And then we bring it to the client, we try to optimize the snippets, and it doesn't happen. And it's usually because I would have factored both at the same time and not isolating the CTR increase and rank increase only. Final curveball that I really don't know how to deal with, but you should be mindful of, that Google will just rewrite your title tag for you. And for example, when I publish content on my blog, I could put title tag banana, and after that, nothing. Google will say banana Dejan SEO. We've actually rebranded the Dejan marketing a long time ago, but Google always attaches Dejan SEO to my titles, whether I want it or not. So when you're running experiments like that, make sure that you're not factoring in the snippet that you entered. Have a look at what's happening in the actual SERPs. So that's the final thing to be concerned about. And of course, when you're running these CTR experiments, if you're using Algorithm, for example, you're adding the new snippet that you changed. You say start experiment, go to Search Console and do the URL inspect, and submit the new version to Google. So the snippet actually activates in Google search results because the experiment is invalid otherwise. Some new ideas: run focus groups. SERP spoofing, I should not be saying that. We talked about this before my session. It's a bit controversial. I may have tricked some users thinking they're on Google and to understand how they behave on Google. But if you run little experiments, let's call it SERP simulation instead of spoofing, present users with an experiment, observe how they behave on your Google pages, and tell them what you did afterwards, unlike what I did. Predictive heat maps, like Fengui, you can run it on search result pages, and just run surveys. So some recommended, we've got 4 minutes to go, so we've got some recommended reading. Those who've seen my presentation 2 years ago would have remembered the same rank, more clicks stuff. If you're planning to not use the tool that I presented, or Marcus has similar functionality, or other tools that do the same thing, if you want to build it in-house, like your own tool or in Excel, I think it's useful to go through these 3 articles and understand the process, as well as monitoring what I've been saying in this presentation, all the challenges, so you don't come up with wrong projections. And there's a phenomenal study on Etsy, title tag optimization, which is quite the next level. So that's all what I have for you guys today. I think we have a little bit of Q&A time, yes? Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome to join me on the couch. I just had a quick look into Slido and a few questions just popped in. So let's see. All right, questions are here. You may decide which go first. Officially, the upper one is highlighted.
How many people did you ask about the thing on top of the results? 1,000. So sample is 1,000.
All right.
I actually did a follow-up study with 100 similar results. So I wasted my money, but okay. Like if you're doing Google surveys, it's quite cheap. So 1,000 respondents on a single question, whether it's open-ended or multiple choice, is just $100. So it's not that expensive, and you can get opinion of 1,000 people. And I'm in favor of open-ended because you get true answers rather than people just randomly stabbing at a multiple choice.
All right.
Emojis and special characters I don't like them personally, but if it works, it works. If I put it through a test and it produces better click-through rates, I'm sold. I'll use it. Obviously, it'll work for certain age groups and industries, but for others, it would just be horrible. Like imagine you're, like a funeral home or something, and you put like a emoji, it's like tears and stuff. It's like maybe not appropriate, but I don't know. But if you're selling products, like fashion products for young people, that might be something that you could do. Are you working with CTRs on landing page level? Landing page level. Yes, of course. I work on query level, page level, and I benchmark the landing page level against the performance of the rest of the site. If I didn't get that question right, maybe you can clarify now or later.
Okay, you just go ahead. I just highlight as you go.
Yeah. Does Algorithm also work with the with the new? Yes, it does. It works, and it works well with the new Search Console data. Even works with the domain thing. If you have a domain entity, it'll just show domain and then the domain name. So there's no problem. In the negative space example, there was some ranking loss. There was ranking loss because what I did, I did the crazy thing and I removed SEO from the title tag of my homepage. And what I do is SEO. So I just put Dejan. It's like, screw you, Google, I'm not going to put SEO in the title tag. Ha! And they put SEO back in it for me. It's a true story. I did not really suffer any losses as a result of a micro snippet, I have to say. Why don't you use AdWords for A/B testing your SEO snippets? We do. So we have a PPC department, and before we come up with any hypotheses, we have a look. We don't even need to run the experiments. We can actually already borrow the data that AdWords data has, and we can see performing queries. What we did find, though, is that when you take stuff from the ads and you apply it on organics, it doesn't always produce the same click-through increases that I expected. Don't know why, but it's maybe behavioral signals on ads and organic results are different. Some of our clients actually do use, one client does colleges and education, like online. So they're actually constantly testing, A/B testing the snippets, and we frequently borrow data from them. Do you have any other easy win tips how to optimize the meta description and title?
That's a hard one. Oh.
Easy win tips. I would love to present more. Just the easiest one is just look at the rest of the results and do something completely different, like radically different. So you with your message, you completely stand out from everyone else. Working with that approach is close to impossible, as you don't have
just
significant.
Just a second. Yep. We have to wrap it up. So
oh yes.
The last question would be.
I think it's significant because it's potentially that everything is impossible.
Yeah.
So
we would take that one, and then we have to finish off because
Let's just see.
It's the highlighted one.
Working with that approach is close to impossible, as you don't have significant samples for each keyword's rankings. Do you have any success story with that client? Oh yes. So I should probably mention the session briefs mentions if you work with a big brand and a website with a lot of pages and queries. If you have a very small website, like a small shop and a local stuff, this will not work. So actually, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because we actually have a drop down in the settings. When there's not enough click-through data and rank data and query data, you can just select the industry standard. So if you're in the music industry, you can select music, and it'll give you the CTR that the rest of the music industry has. We borrowed that data from Rank Ranger, I think. So you can actually do your projections based on the industry rather than benchmarking against yourself. That was a good question. I like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dan, for this
You're welcome.
amazing speech. Thank you at the audience. Well, if you have any other questions, Dan, you will be around for today.
Yes, I will be around.
So just watch his face, jump onto him. I will be off for this stage, and we'll be hopping to Saal 5. There will be a technical thing, and I think now here will be something with the Semi Awards. So, what do you say at the closing end? Keep up, something like that. No.
Look at your Search Console.
Look at your Search Console data. Well, see you later. Thank you very much. Again, applause for Dan.